Hi, I'm DJ Ware. On this episode of the CyberGizmo, we're going to be looking at Linux Mint Debian Edition version 4 right after this. So a number of people have been asking me to do this and to look at it also. I think Biddle is doing it this week for their baseline review. So I thought I would kick the tires on it and see what the differences were between a standard Linux Mint install and a Linux Mint Debian Edition install. So with that in mind, let's take a look at what LMDE actually is. So rather than use the Ubuntu baseline or the code baseline or packages, it uses the Debian stable baseline, and they are based on Debian 10 Buster. That is using, it used to be, I think, in the previous releases, the unstable version of Debian, but I think in recent releases, they've moved back to the stable. So that's good. But LMDE, of course, uses its own packages and its own package repositories. LMDE claims to be faster than Linux Mint. I don't know that for a fact. I'm not measuring it today. I may go back and do some in-depth benchmarks. I don't know yet. If that's of interest to you guys, let me know in the comments below. If it's supposed to require a deeper knowledge, of course, Debian is a little bit more, I wouldn't call it an advanced Linux user, but you certainly need to understand a little bit deeper in Linux before you try to tackle it. It was released on March 20th, 2020, and it uses currently just the Cinnamon desktop. No other GUIs are offered at this time. Don't know what their plans are in that regards, but of course you could, if you wanted, install any additional desktops later. So what's new? They offer automatic disk partitioning with support for LVM is now included in that automatic partitioning, and you can select full disk encryption. There is an additional option that allows you to encrypt your home directory as well, or in addition to. So I guess you could either do whole disk encryption or you can encrypt your home directory. I have not done any analysis of how they're doing that encryption, and it doesn't really explain it in the documentation on the site because there really isn't very much in terms of LMDE on the website. It all refers back to the baseline Linux Mint. There is support for automated installation of NVIDIA drivers, and NVMe is supported. Secure Boot is supported. I did not test that. I did it, like I will explain later. I did attempt to install this on hardware. BTFS sub-volume support is enabled or available. And then there's automatic installation of microcode packages, which of course we all know is necessary because of the vulnerabilities that have been exposed in the Intel processors. Automatic resolution bump, it now requires 1024 by 768 both to install and to run. So it's a little bit different than it has been, I believe, previously. Not sure. Don't run Linux Mint myself, but it does include the same improvements that Linux Mint 19.3 has brought forward. It also includes the APT recommends by default, and we'll go into some of that maybe during the demo. The Debian 10 package base with backports repository is available with LMDE 4. Hardware requirements. They recommend 2 gigabytes of memory, but 1 gigabyte it should be sufficient, although I think you'll find that tight. Not so much with Cinnamon, but if you do install other desktops, you will probably find that 2 gig would be better. 15 gig of disk space and 20 gigabytes is recommended. And of course, we talked about the resolution already. Other features, 64-bit ISOs can support a legacy BIOS boot or a UEFI boot. 32-bit only supports BIOS, not a big surprise there. But they, of course, recommend 64-bit, and that is the direction everything is going today. 32-bit is pretty old, goes back into the mid-'80s when that first came out. So about time for that one to disappear. Only 32-bit or 64-bit AMD, Intel AMD ISOs are available. I did not see any indication of anything that would support ARM or PowerPC or any of those that a typical Debian release would also support. So I think at this time they're only going to support Intel AMD. And of course, we talked about Cinnamon already. Now, there is a couple caveats you need to know if you want to get the SHA-256sum.txt. If you click on the links on their website, you will be taken directly to download the ISO file. So you'll need to copy the path and shorten that path to exclude the ISO file name, and then you'll be presented with the directory. And in that directory, you'll find two files, SHA-256sum.txt and SHA-256sum.gpg. So you can either use the SHA-256sum utility or the GPG utility to verify, but I did not see any information. GPG usually requires a signature verification step, so I'm not quite sure how that works. You normally have to have a key to give it to unlock it, so I'm not quite sure if that's in the file or not. Didn't try that. I just did the SHA-256sum, which is fine. That's good enough for me. At least at this juncture. I did not, you can upgrade from LMDE 3 to 4. I didn't see any way to cross-grade from Linux Mint, the standard release of Linux Mint, to LMDE. Not really surprised that probably, I don't know, probably would require a reinstall to put LMDE on the system, since I don't think the library, I think the libraries would be a big mess if you attempted to do an upgrade. So, yeah, I'm assuming that that's probably the case. I did try to install this on Intel 10, 10th generation NUC, and of course it failed. And the problem here is the Linux kernel version is too old, and it does not include the support for the network card that the NUC 10 has, and that was the only issue it had. It was able to boot, it was able to bring up the live CD, and the live image started. I was able to install it. However, I didn't have a network. Now, I didn't test wireless. Wireless might have worked to get me out, but the wired network did not. So today, I'm stuck trying to install this on Virt Manager, and so that's what I'm going to do. Let me see. Let me go cut over to a full screen here. Now, I brought up Virt Manager already, and as always, we'll do this, and we're gonna create a new virtual machine, and it's going to be using Locomedia. We'll browse for it, and I probably have LMDE down here a couple times because I was testing to get a hold of the actual SHA-256 before I attempted to install this, and I've already done the check, and it is passed, which is always a good thing to do. And take this out. Now I'm going to just tell it it's Debian. I don't know of any recommendations for this, but this worked the last time I tried it. So we'll do that. I'm going to give this machine 4096. 2 CPUs is fine. I'm just going to leave that at 20 gig. I'm going to see if take them at their word that this will work. I am going to rename this to LMDE 4. And then it'll create my volume for me. And then it'll immediately start to boot. I don't know if I can make this a little bit bigger for you or not. Probably not at this stage. Well, I'll take the first option and just go ahead and boot into the live the live version. And I get these little kind of funny squiggles when it comes up. Well, that quickly goes away. Okay, and it's up. Now let's just see if the display mode is, I need to go to settings, I think. I'm just curious if the display actually says 1024, and it does. So indeed, that is the minimum that you can use. But for right now, we're not too concerned about that. We'll go ahead and do an install. This defaults to double click. And it does see my network card. So so it knows where I am. All right, we'll do the usual thing. Let's call this LMDE. Log in automatically, no. Now I could select encrypt my, see it does give you this option out here to encrypt my home folder. I'm going to go ahead and let it do that because I'm curious as to how it's actually doing it. And then here you can do the automated installation or a manual partition. The only required partition is a root partition. I'm not sure what they do about the grub bootloader other than the fact that that would go into the boot track. Since that's the only drive I have, I'm not gonna do any of this. If you do turn on whole disk encryption, you do have to have LVM for that. So that option will be disabled until you enable LVM, of course. So I'm going to bypass it. I already know how encryption works on LVM, so I'm not really too interested in testing that. I assume that would work. Grub is going to be installed on the first drive. Okay. Does a summary, and then it gets started. This will take a bit, and I will be back. It's 1:27. So it is finishing up here, so I just wanted it to go through. So far it's been about 4 minutes during the install, and right now it's putting the grub bootloader out. One of the things I did notice that it did was it cleaned up the live CD packages, which is nice. The live image packages are gone off of the hardware install, so that's kind of nice. I'm just letting this finish up. Looks like we're up to 5 minutes now. About. I don't have a second hand on this, so it could be 4.5. But it's finished. And so it's asking me if I want to restart the computer. I don't, because I'm going to go make sure that it actually gets rid of the CD. I don't want that be booted from. Otherwise, it'll just be back right here again. So I'm going to go check and make sure that it did eject it. I think it does, but we'll make sure. Let's see, still running. I think it's asking me to remove it, so let me see. Let's see. Nope, it didn't. But we can take care of that. Yep. Okay. So now it's going to have an I/O error fit. All right. So we'll boot into the, and there's this weird looking initialization screen. Okay, fairly fast boot. Yeah. Hello, Cinnamon. So I don't use Cinnamon. Let's see what we got. First steps. We can set up snapshots, install our codecs. Good, yeah, do the updates. So down here, it should be probably telling me apply the security updates, do the snapshots. Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I do. I want to switch to a local mirror. So we'll do that. Okay, source code, no. Debug, no. Don't need that. If I had additional, I would do that. We don't have any issues there yet, so it looks like we're all good so far. So the next step I would always do is first, let's get a little bit bigger display. And we'll go back down here to settings. I'm not, you know, I don't know. I've heard some comments about I need to pick up my game on reviewing these, but I don't spend a lot of time in GUIs. I don't. I find them just cumbersome. So there are a few things I use a GUI for, but not very often. I just find them too slow. Yeah, it looks fine. Okay, so that gave me a little bit better display here, I think. Let's see what we got. Let me go ahead and bring this down a bit so we can actually see it. There we go. And at this point, what I would do is update my packages. I don't manage my files through file managers. I don't, you know, GUI is just, a lot of people don't realize that the GUIs most of the time are just front ends to commands that you can execute on the command line. So it's just an extra layer. I'm just waiting for this to update. And I'll probably have to reboot. I think I saw a update to, well, I know that I will because Girl's being updated, so. Okay, so I don't think there's any update to that. Oh, but I could be wrong. We'll just do a reboot. So I could have gone to the GUI and I could have select reboot, but you know, I'm already in the command line. I just type it. It does the same thing. It does exactly the same thing. Okay, yeah. So it's telling me that I'm running without a video acceleration. Yes, I know that. And no, I'm not going to give you my graphics card. Sorry. I only have one. So, and I don't want to go to Intel's, the internal Intel one. Okay, so there's some other things that I want here. Let me get this up so you can see it too. So I think what they mean by recommends is this, is if you type in the package, it will tell you what to type to put it in. You know, that's nice. I mean, I think. I'm going to go ahead and put glances, and I'll probably need NeoFetch, I'm guessing. If not, it'll tell me when it tries to install it, but it's already there. I didn't check the version of the kernel, so we'll check that in a minute. Yeah, some people pointed out on the Debian review, yes, you can you could change over your repositories to unstable, and you can get a newer version of the kernel. I don't run beta software, and that's not even in beta. that unstable release, I believe, is the next release of Debian, which would be Debian 11. So, no thank you. You go right ahead if you want to do that. Having machines blow up inexplicably is not something I really enjoy. But if that's something that you like, be my guest. Yeah, I did not update it, so that's all current. Still the 026. So let's take a look at our usual suspects here. See how many packages it installed. Quite a few. 1870, 448 version of Cinnamon. I don't know enough about Cinnamon to tell you if that's current or not. We could go out and look. HTOP is reporting 95 tasks, are running 199 threads, are resident in memory, and one is running, and there are 717 meg of memory. by the time you add in the application caches, I'm going to bet this is going to be over a gig. It's going to be close to 282, 280, excuse me, 983, 982. So yeah, it's pretty close to a gig. Now that does not include the disk cache. This is application cache, and that's why I use glances. That's because if those caches are thrown out of memory, guess what? You get to rebuild them, and it will slow things down. So yeah, that's running a little close to the 1 gig recommended. So I would be probably more inclined to go with 2. As far as the disk space is concerned, 5.3 gig, not horrible, and I suppose the one thing I should check, I'm going to need is the server. And I'll shoot, I forgot, I need to get to. Lately, I have been running Lynis, and Lynis is of course a security tool. I have some videos on it, and go back and look at some of the security tools. Let's see, I want to get the. Let me just bring this over, and you can follow along with me if you're not familiar with Lynis. Let's see. I want to go to the installation, and I want to go to GitHub. And the only thing I need is this one. And that's all I need out of that for now. So I'm going to go down here because you can't paste into a VM window. I'm assuming that's 122. It was before. I didn't even look. I typed it, but I didn't even look. So 178. Okay. And then I'll go out to opt, get clone. Hopefully I typed, no I didn't. Probably fat fingered it. I have to do a fat finger on a password at least once. So all right, I'm done with this. I'm going to go back, get rid of that window and go back here. Sorry, I guess I paid for that. No. No. Anyway, that's a nice comment, though. Thank you. Let's see. I want to go to opt Lynis, and then I want to do a sudo Lynis audit system. And this version has picked up some additional things that it's going to check. And I in lieu of the fact that I've been finding some interesting things, Lynis has been updating what they check, which is good. And I'm going to scroll back up to the top of this, and we'll just walk down through it. If you're not familiar with this, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because I've done 2 videos on this already. If you want to know more about that, you can look. I'll put a link below. Oh my goodness. 60, it's a 60. So let me go back up to the top. And so that's out of a score of 100. Let's just start at the top here and see what its findings are. So the first problem is it can't find anything in the OS release that it knows about. Probably not. That's not a big deal. And this is new. They're starting to check the systemd. There is I think it's called systemd analyze, and one of it's systemd-analyze, and then you can give it a command space. I think it's statistic or security, and then it will go through and it will check all of the services that are currently running under systemd, and it will evaluate its potential vulnerability. I think it's on a scale from 1 to 10. And so 1 being it's good, great, no problems. 10 being yeah, you might have an exposure or an unsafe system here, and then you can run that systemd analyze security with that service name, and it'll tell you exactly what you need to add to the configuration in order to minimize its exposure. So yeah, and this isn't unusual. I mean, the systemd as it comes out of the box, this is pretty much normal on any system. I mean, I'm not alarmed by this. This is normal. This is normal. There's a lot of correction you have to do, and this is one of the reasons why I'm not real excited about systemd. Is because of these things. If you leave these if you expose your system, and hopefully you're not, if you expose your system to the internet with these vulnerabilities in here or potential risks in here, you may have visitors that will find their way into your system. Yeah, I mean, again, am I concerned about this? Well, I would be if I was putting this out on the internet. Yes, if I was putting this outside my firewall, heck yeah, I would be concerned about it. So I'm glad that Lynis is including this check and saying, hey, if you're really ultra conservative and you really want to secure your system, it is kind of a pain in the butt because you have to go through each one of these line by line. So I got to do this one, then go make its corrections, then go do that one and go make its corrections. It's kind of a painful thing. And this is why I go back to the more services you have open, the tougher this is because there's more vulnerabilities that you have to worry about. And it's good that they're putting this kind of stuff in here. I really like what Lynis is doing in this regard as a help to us. And then they do show some issues here in dev. I'm not sure what those are at this point. I haven't checked the logs to see what's really been flagged. This apparently is new too. They did not used to do this. So that apparently is new. In the rule set, in the test that they're conducting. So the version number of the program hasn't changed, but the rule set that they're running against has. So yeah, it's just saying this is probably something to do. Okay, so the DNSSEC didn't find, because it didn't find my DNS servers either, so not a surprise there. And then it goes through and checks everything. Comes all the way down, knows this is good. I saw it. It knows I'm running under a virtualization, but it doesn't really check anything yet, and there's nothing in there. Looks like there's something coming here in these two categories, which is good. They're constantly updating us, which is really good. And then this isn't real concerning either. That's kind of normal. I didn't install any compilers. I didn't ask for any, but I know Python got installed when I installed my software. It's finding, it didn't find my name servers, and there's no there's no default firewall turned on. So yeah, not a biggie. And these are kind of always the same, although I think there was one here that's not. Ah, good. So they're telling you to run. They're telling you exactly what you need to do right here. So that run through, we can run this. I mean, here, let's just do that. And I'll show you that one of the things that Lynis did not show is you have to be root, obviously. Okay, so if you were to go out and run this, these are each of the services that are being run under systemd, and then this is the rating according to the utility. And again, 1 to 10, 10 being bad, 1 being good. So so as you get up here in the numbers, they become more unsafe. And then I guess, I don't know what the exact cutoff here is for exposed. It means that you probably have some things you need to do. And let's just, we can go all the way down to the end, and we'll take the last one and we'll run an analysis on it. So let's do the supplicant service and see what its findings were. Because we don't really know. We know it's it's unsafe, but we don't know why. So all you do is just paste in the service name and run it, and it'll go through line by line. Here's what you need to do. You know, it's telling me that, oh, this service has access to the host network. Well, yeah, probably does need that, but it is running as root. That is an issue anymore today, particularly in high security environments. Running as root is bad. And then let's see. Yeah. I mean, I know there are some services you have to run as root. You don't have a choice, but there are some suggestions here on what they want set. So, and these, of course, would be going into your systemd or etc systemd, and then there's some config files there that you would alter for this. I might do a video on this in the future. This is going to be a lot of work. I can tell you that right now. If I wanted to do this now. Is this a concern? You can go to any Linux distro and you can run this, and you'll probably find very similar results. So this is not unique to Linux Mint or Ubuntu or Fedora. I don't know about Arch. Arch may be correcting this. I don't know. But if you are running systemd, just be aware there are some extra things that you probably want to consider. As far as the run itself, I think it was 60, and there was a bunch of stuff I had to do. That's a little bit lower than what I'm used to. I mean, it's not a lot lower. Usually it's around 66, about average. But I haven't run this new version with all these new tests in it, so I'll probably need to go take a new system of Ubuntu and a new system of Fedora, a new system of Debian, and go run it and see what I actually get for those. Because I don't know. I don't know how to comment on whether 60 is good or 60 is average. I don't know. It might be. That's the thing with security testing over time. It does become more intensive because you find vulnerabilities. But okay, so we looked at HTOP, we looked at NeoFetch, and I looked at glances. So there's nothing else I want to do here. I guess we could. It looks like it's got a nice black background already. That's I like that. I don't know what it brings up as the default. Let's go into the file manager. Should be what? Like I said, I don't. Nemo, okay. I'm going to do a video on some alternatives to these because these are old-fashioned. This is kind of going back to the old file cabinet days. I've talked about that before. There are some new ways to manage these where you can add metadata to it, and then you can do searches on files that are related. So what you can't do in here, I can do a search on a file name. I can do a search. Well, there's nothing in this directory, but let's see. Let's go out to my computer. Let's go up. Let's go up. And we'll do a search out here for ls. And I think the only thing, well, is it really going to show me anything? I'm going to say, no, you can't look in there. Okay, somebody want to tell me what this is good for? Find root. Here, I can do this as sudo too. Start with root, name, ls, print it, done. So ls, and of course I can't see in here because this is protected. But yeah, there's my file, and that's the problem with searches today. Is that if this was a text file or a word processing file, I couldn't see inside it. I mean, it's just going to tell me you have a match on the file name. Great, not helpful. So I'm going to show you some alternatives to this nonsense here. I don't know what this is really good for. Maybe you guys know that use GUIs all the time. I don't use GUIs all the time. This is my GUI. So as far as I do use Word. I do use LibreOffice. That is a GUI. I use OBS. That is a GUI. I do use some of the other utilities, and those are GUI. So to say that I don't ever use them is not really true, but I don't manage files with this stuff. They just don't do necessarily what I want. One thing that they did recommend, so it looks like that's all good, but I'm still getting some things here. Okay, so let's do that. Let's install the language packs. Let's see what it's actually doing to my system. Okay. Now, when I did this on Linux Mint 19.3, it was installing some Adobe stuff. Is this still the case? Shouldn't be. This is Debian libraries. I will look. Do I see Flash? I don't see Flash. Okay, good. So apparently that is not the case here. I'll watch this real careful and see if it puts Flash out here. If it does, I'll be destroying this tomorrow. I don't have Flash on any of my systems. Okay, launch time shift, which I'm assuming is all right. Let's play with this. I've never played with this. Let's see what this is. So I'm going to do an rsync. It's going to look at my system size, and so I guess I have to have a hard drive that's the same size as the one. Okay. See, well, anyway, that's why I don't use GUIs, as they do dumb things like this. First of all, I would probably not do this on the rsync to the, I definitely wouldn't rsync to my local drive. That would be dumb, because if the drive failed, I would also lose my backup. So you would want something, I assume, of comparable size. Maybe it has to be the same or larger. Let's see. Linux file system. Devices without NTFS FAT are not supported. Yeah. Okay. So then what? Oh, how many levels to keep? Well, I don't want it. Thanks. It shuts it off. So I guess this is okay, provided you have a duplication of drives to be able to use it with. I have tried to run that in the past, and I know I've run into that before. And this I would turn off. I would turn off all this crash dump stuff. But let's see. Firefox. I bet it's old. Or I bet it's ESR. I bet it's ESR. Yep, it's ESR 68.6. Don't know if I would imagine probably you could download in some fashion or another the latest version of Firefox. I wouldn't think that would be a big problem. Let's see, what else? There's so little I do. I don't use any of that stuff. I don't use Thunderbird, don't use HexChat, don't use transmissions. I don't use their backup tool, I use my own. I'm such a curmudgeon, aren't I? Let's see what the power stats are. Doesn't seem very useful to me, but maybe it does to you. Semantic Package Manager, print, system reports. Let's see what we got here. Oh, that's where I was. Okay. Firewall configuration. Let's go see how easy that is. This looks like it's UFW. Yeah, it's UFW. Yep. Okay, so if I want a default firewall, it doesn't let anything in, just turn it on. And is it going to show me the rules? No. Show me a report, log. Oh, there it goes. See, that's why I don't use GUIs. That's slow. Here. It's inactive. So this, I don't know what this is activating, but oh, it is off. It didn't lie. It turned it off. Okay, now it should show active. Okay, and then if you want to see the rules, you can do the man page for UFW. I just do IP tables or IP tables now. Sometimes I probably should just run through all these stuff that I do. I'm a curmudgeon. What are you going to do? I mean, that's the way I am. I just think these things are slow, cumbersome, and they get in my way. So this says I'm supposed to be able, okay, so there aren't any rules, so there's nothing for it to print. So let's add one. Let's add an allow rule. God, this is slow. Come on. Okay, maybe not. It's just, it turned itself off again. Why? I don't know. That's always good for a firewall to do that. And by the way, if you want a shortcut, it just pulls into this. So you can get your, just think this is so dumb. They have to go through this. Okay. I'll get off my high horse. So if people wanted me to step up my game on my reviews, sorry. I just don't use this junk. It's just too slow. Update manager, users and groups, time shift, we already looked at. I guess we could look at update manager. It's asking me again if I want to use the mirror, the local mirror, or is it? What was it asking me? I didn't even pay any attention. I already set it to local. I don't know why it's asking me again. But, I was going to find out what it was doing with my home folder. So it looks like it created a mount point. And did it create one here? No, it didn't. So that means it's probably LVM. Nope, it's not. Are they just putting that in a private, all my stuff in a private directory? Home.encrypt. Okay. And where does that point to? I won't be able to see. Oh, it's an encrypt file. Okay, it's an encrypt FS. Okay, well that's a reasonable way of doing it. It's just creating a loop mount back to an encrypted directory. That's all right. That's okay. That's efficient. I don't mind that. Do you really want me to look at wallpaper? Okay, we'll look at wallpaper. I kind of like that one. Let's see what other settings we have. Slideshow. Okay, so I can change this or whatever. Great. Disklets. Oh, gonna have the clock and a bunch of other garbage on the system. Great. Just what I don't want. I'm kind of a minimalist. Some people are asking me what my configuration is. Flat. It's very flat. Very flat. I use whatever applications I need to get the job done, and I guess I could do a video on that sometime. But what do I think of this? I'm a little, to be honest with you, let's go back over here so that we talk about this. So what do I think about this? So yeah, some of the packages are old. That's going to be true of any system that's based on Debian stable. Now this is a comment that I made on Linux Mint 19.3. I actually don't find that slow over on LMDE. I did run this on, I did it both on boxes and on Virt Manager with LM 19.3, and I don't find this particularly slow. I mean, it's except for some of the utilities are kind of garbage, but that's just a personal opinion. I did not see it install Adobe Flash, so I'm not too worried about that. Firewall, I'm still kind of concerned by this one. It's not set up by default. There should be, and to me, I mean, I don't know why these. I mean, this is not a comment against Linux Mint at all. To me, if a baseline install is installing services that are using ports in the system, then shouldn't the firewall be set up to disable any inbound and let me? It should be closed by default, right? Everything should be closed off by default. And then I should be opening up the ports that I want manually. That's my personal opinion. And nothing is running. In fact, I bet the firewall has crashed. I bet it's not even running anymore. Yeah, that's a little concerning. I don't know if it reverted back the IP tables. I'm assuming not, because the way I have UFW works. Yeah, the firewall rules are still in place, so I'm still protected by this. But let's see. But it's man. UFW is a good firewall. Don't get me wrong; it's very good. It's also very complex. Anyway, this system would require a significant effort to harden. Starting at 60. Trying to get, that's almost halfway, so I to get halfway up. Yeah, it would take a lot of effort. Almost, and I don't know how bad this is on my other systems. It might be the same. And the only way to find that out is to install a baseline release of each of those and then rerun Lynis and check. So I'm not picking on Linux Mint at all about this. I mean, that's just fact. Got to do that. And of course, they are checking more things now, so there's more things to worry about. But you know, I didn't have any problem with the install process. I did do an install with manual partitioning, and I put out my home and my var and my temp directories in separate partitions. No problems with that, and it came right up. As long as you remember on that you mount root on /, you're fine, and you mount home on /home, and you mount var /var. As long as you remember to do that, you're fine. It did not obviously know enough to do that for me, and I didn't expect it to. But all in all, I would just run Debian. I mean, yeah, there's some nice packages in here and some nice stuff. And if I find that, I'm going to be really upset. If I find Adobe Flash out here, I am really going to be upset. But I will tell you later if I did or not. I'll put it in the comments below. So. The curmudgeon is done. Yeah, I don't spend a lot of time in graphical user interfaces. It's just not my thing. Hope you enjoyed this video today, and if you did, please like and subscribe. If you want to know more about why I don't bother with graphical user interfaces for the most part, let me know in the comments below. I could explain a little bit more about that to you. Hope you enjoyed this, and see you again in the next video, and bye for now.